Good morning, children. Today in Social Science and History, Class 9, the French Revolution, we'll take up, first of all the causes together that led to the outbreak of the French Revolution on 14th of July 1789. Now, the different causes we've already talked about earlier, but just to go through it once again, to get all the facts together, despotic rule of Louis XVI. In 1774, he ascended the throne, he became the ruler, but at that time, the treasury was almost empty, the financial resources were hardly there, and this was because of the outcome of wars. They were engaged in frequent wars at that time, so obviously there was not much money left over there. Then his extravagance, the expenditure incurred, and along with him, even his wife, Mary Antoinette, spent money lavishly on friends and gifts and all. So obviously, there were financial difficulties and crisis over there. And then, of course, they increased taxes on the people, mainly on the third estate it was. Then the next one was the society, the division of French society into three estates, which was namely first estate, second estate, and third estate. Now, first estate was a privileged class. The second estate also was privileged, along with the exemption of taxes for the first and the second estate. The second estate also enjoyed feudal privileges. And the third estate was the one that suffered the most because they were the ones who paid the taxes. And every now and then, whenever taxes were required, so indirect taxes and direct taxes had to be paid by the third estate. And this consisted about 90% of the population. Then the rising prices. Now, from 23 million to about 28 million, the population increased. Now, when the population increased, obviously the demand for more food was also there. Poor people could not afford to buy bread. They could not afford to buy the daily commodities that they needed for their daily use and consumption. And this in turn brought about an increased gap between the rich and the poor. So it was the poor people who suffered most of all. Then the inspiration of the philosophers. They played a very major role, and among them was John Locke, Rousseau, Montesquieu, who propagated ideas of a society. They wanted the people to become aware that they should enjoy freedom. And this is what they spread the word among the people that they should be free, there should be equal laws and opportunities for all the people. And people became aware, and they wanted to protest, and they wanted to fight for their rights as well. Then the role of the middle class. The emergence of the middle class was another major factor also, because by now, their earnings had increased, their wealth had increased, they had more trade of manufactured goods also and exports also. Besides them, there were other educated people, professionals like lawyers, administrative officials and all, who also supported and supported the system that there should be equality for all, equal opportunities for everybody, there should be no discrimination at all. And they also protested against the privileges that were given to the first and the second estate. Further on, so gradually when and these things happen, so we see that the end of special privileges. Now, when Louis XVI he had to accept the proposal of the National Assembly, his powers, according to which his powers were limited by a constitution. On 4th August 1789, France abolished feudal system and taxes. Members of the clergy also were forced to give up their privileges. Tithes were abolished and lands owned by the church were seized by the authorities. So this was a very major outcome, a major change over there, and how they moved on to a system of a republic. France becomes a constitutional monarchy. Now, when the National Assembly completed the draft in 1791, the main objective was to limit the powers of the monarch, that is of King Louis XVI, who was the ruler at that time. And by this also, there was separation of powers, that is for legislature, executive and the judiciary, which was not there earlier. So this was a very major change that took place in France. Then laws were to be made by the National Assembly, indirectly elected by active citizens, and voted for a group of electors who chose the assembly members. Now, who were these active citizens? They were men above 25 years. Women were not allowed to vote, of course, but men above 25 years and who paid taxes to at least 3 days or equal to at least 3 days of a laborer's wages. Electors had to qualify and then become members of the assembly. And these were the people who paid high taxes. So these were the people who qualified. Now, Constitution began with a declaration of the rights of man and citizen. Till now, people did not enjoy any of the rights that they were demanding, that they were wanting for, that they were struggling for. So, by this, the right to life, freedom and equality before law was given to them. So, and these natural rights which the citizens of the country should enjoy, the state had to ensure and to protect these rights which they had. Now, France further on abolished monarchy. In April 1792, National Assembly declared war against Prussia and Austria. Actually, they had come to know that these countries, their neighboring countries, are planning to attack them. So before that could happen, they themselves attacked and declared war against Prussia and Austria. Patriotic songs were sung by many of them, and one major that became the national anthem was a Marseillaise that was sung by them also. Thousands of volunteers were there to join the army. Women had to look after the families and the land and all. People were still not satisfied because they wanted that they should get more freedom. They were not happy with the way conditions were, although things were a little better now. So, because by the 1791 Constitution, it gave political rights to the richer section. So, the poor section still was overlooked. Now came the formation of the Jacobin Club. The leader of the Jacobin Club was Maximilien Robespierre. Now, who were the members of this club? The people who were not rich, people who were poor or the middle class, they became members of the Jacobin Club. So it was a less prosperous section of the society that included shopkeepers also, artisans, daily wage workers, and various other people. And they dressed differently as well. They dressed differently in the sense that men wore long striped trousers and also a red cap, which was symbolic. It symbolized liberty. And these people were known as sans-culottes. So the leader of this Jacobin Club was led by Maximilien Robespierre. On 10th of August, he and of course his troops attacked the palace, killed king's guards and held the king as hostage for several hours. Later on, the assembly decided and they had the royal family imprisoned also. And thereafter, elections were held and all men 21 and above got the right to vote.